Children's Story Hour, told by A.J. Redelsberger. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time there were 3 bears who lived together in their own little house in the wood. There was a great big father bear, a middle-sized mother bear, and a little baby bear. They each had a special bowl for porridge, a special chair for sitting in, and a special bed to sleep in. One morning the mother bear made their porridge for breakfast and poured it out into the great big bowl, the middle-sized bowl, and the little baby bowl. But it was so hot the bears decided to go for a walk while it cooled. Now a little girl named Goldilocks was walking in the woods that morning, and she came across the bear's house. She knocked on the door, and when there was no reply, she crept slowly in.
Oh,
she cried when she saw the bowls of porridge.
I'm so hungry, I must have just 1 spoonful.
First she went to the great big bowl and took a taste.
Too hot,
she said. Then she went to the middle-sized bowl and tried that porridge.
Too cold,
she said. Last she went to the little baby bowl.
Oh, just right,
she cried, and she ate it all up, every bit. Then Goldilocks saw the great big chair and climbed into it.
Too big,
she said, and climbed down quickly. Next she went to the middle-sized chair and sat down.
Too hard,
she said. Then she went quickly to the little baby chair.
It just fits,
she said happily. But really the chair was too small for her, and crack! It broke, and down she tumbled. Then she went into the next room where she saw 3 neat beds. First she climbed into the great big bed, but it was too high. Next she climbed into the middle-sized bed, but it was too low. Then she saw the little baby bed.
Oh,
she cried.
This is just right.
She got in, pulled up the covers, and went fast asleep. Before long, the 3 bears came home for their breakfast. First, the great big bear went to eat his porridge. He took one look and said in his great, rough voice,
"Somebody's been eating my porridge!"
Then the middle-sized bear looked into her bowl and said in her middle-sized voice,
"And somebody's been eating my porridge, too."
Finally, the little baby bear went to his bowl.
"Ow!
He cried in his little baby voice.
"Somebody's been eating my porridge and has eaten it all up."
After that, all 3 bears wanted to sit down. The great big bear went to his great big chair and saw that the cushion had been squashed down.
"Somebody's been sitting in my chair!"
he cried in his great big voice. Then the middle-sized mother bear went to her middle-sized chair and found her cushion on the floor.
"Somebody's been sitting in my chair,"
she said in her middle-sized voice. Then the little baby bear hurried to his chair.
"Ow!
He cried in his little baby voice.
"Somebody's been sitting in my chair and broken it all to bits."
The 3 bears, feeling very sad, went into the bedroom. First, the great big bear looked at his bed.
"Somebody's been lying in my bed,"
he said in his great big voice. Then the middle-sized bear saw her bed all rumpled up, and she cried in her middle-sized voice,
"Oh, dear! Somebody's been lying in my bed!"
By this time, the little baby bear had gone to his little baby bed, and he cried,
"Somebody's been lying in my bed, and she's still here!"
This time, his little baby voice was so high and squeaky that Goldilocks woke up with a start and sat up. There, on one side of the bed, were the 3 bears, all looking down at her. Now Goldilocks did not know that these were kind bears, and she was very frightened. She screamed, jumped out of bed, ran to the open window, and quickly climbed out. Then she ran home to her mother as fast as she possibly could. As for the bears, they put things to rights, and since Goldilocks never came again, They lived happily ever after. The Hare and the Tortoise. In the forest there was a clearing where many animals gathered each evening after going to the river to drink. The tortoise was usually the last to arrive, and the other animals would laugh at him as he plodded into the clearing.
Come on, Slowpoke!
They would call out as he came through the grass towards them. The tortoise would blink at them with his beady eyes and continue slowly on his way until he reached the spot where he wanted to settle down. The liveliest of all the animals there was the hare. He ran so fast that he was always the first to arrive.
Just look at me,
he was boasting one evening.
I can run faster than any of you. My speed and cleverness will always win.
The tortoise ambled into the clearing, last as usual, but to everyone's surprise he did not go to his usual place. Instead, he went slowly across to the hare.
Since you run so fast, could you beat me in a race? He asked.
I? Beat you? In a race?
Exclaimed the hare, and he fell on the ground and held his sides, he laughed so much.
Of course I could beat you! You name the distance, Tortoise, but don't make it too far for your short little legs.
And he roared with laughter again. Most of the other animals laughed too. It did seem a very comic idea. The fox, who thought they would see some good sport, said,
Come on then, Tortoise. Name the distance and the time, and then we will all come to see fair play.
Let us start tomorrow morning at sunrise,
suggested the tortoise.
We'll run from this clearing to the edge of the forest and return to this spot again along the bank of the river.
Why, it will take you all day to go so far, Tortoise. Are you sure you want to go ahead with it?
Asked the hare. He grinned all over his face at the thought of the easy victory he would have.
I am sure, replied the tortoise. The first one back to this clearing will be the winner.
Agreed,
said the hare as the tortoise settled down in some long grass to sleep for the night. The next morning, the clearing was full of animals who had come to see the start of the great race. Some ran along to the edge of the forest to make sure that both animals followed the proper route. Others chose good places to watch along the way. The hare and the tortoise stood side by side. As the sun rose, the fox called out,
Ready, steady, go!
The hare jumped up and was out of sight almost at once. The tortoise started off in the same direction. He plodded along, picking up his feet slowly, then putting them down only a little in front of where they had been before.
Come on, Tortoise!
Called his friends anxiously, but he did not lift up his foot to wave at them as the hare had done. He kept on moving slowly forwards. In a few minutes, the hare was a long way from the starting line, so he slowed down.
It's going to take the tortoise all day,
he thought.
So there's no need for me to hurry.
He stopped to talk to friends and nibbled juicy grass here and there along the path. By the time he reached halfway, the sun was high in the sky and the day became very hot. The animals who were waiting there saw the hare turn back towards the clearing. They settled down for a long wait for the tortoise. As he returned by the river, the hot sun and the grass he had eaten made the hare feel sleepy.
There's no need to hurry,
he told himself.
Here's a nice shady spot.
And stretching himself comfortably, he lay down. With paws beneath his head, he murmured sleepily,
It won't matter if Tortoise passes me. I'm much faster than he is. I'll still get back first and win the race.
He drifted off to sleep. Meanwhile, the tortoise went on slowly. He reached the edge of the forest quite soon after the hare, for he had not stopped to talk to friends or eat tempting fresh grass. Before long, smiling gently, he passed the hare sleeping in the shade. The animals in the clearing waited all day for the hare to return, but he did not arrive. The sun was setting before they saw the tortoise plodding towards them.
Where is the hare?
They called out. The tortoise did not waste his breath in answering, but came steadily towards them.
Hurrah! Tortoise has won! Well done, Slowpoke!
The animals cheered. Only when he knew he had won the race did Tortoise speak.
Hare? Oh, he's asleep back there by the river.
There was a sudden flurry, and at great speed the hare burst into the clearing. He had woken, and seeing how long the shadows were, realized he had slept for much longer than he intended. He had raced back to the clearing, but he was too late. Tortoise smiled and said,
Slow and steady wins the race.